You're listening to the Ridge Journal Podcast with Josh Lloyd.
I singled you out today because of FCA. Okay. My dad was very much a part of FCA. I'm wearing his FCA whistle.
Awesome. I love it.
Right there.
That's great.
It's the one thing I inherited when he passed.
Yeah.
I feel like this is an integral part of a team's success. Mm-hmm. And one thing that Nick always did when we were, coming through all the way up to last season was he had a team chaplain.
Yeah.
I've been a part of teams that didn't have that that element,
right.
And they weren't as successful, and they didn't have they didn't gel the way Nick's teams would.
Sure.
And another thing about Nick's teams that I see happening with Matt now is when you go to practice, you might as well be at youth group or church. Uh-huh. And Nick's often were sermons. The pregame speeches were sermons.
Absolutely.
They were 15-minute sermons.
Yep.
And everybody would run out of there screaming and yelling. And I don't see that in church.
Sure.
It makes me wonder what would have happened had he just decided to be a man of the cloth instead.
Yeah. That's right.
He might have really turned some...
Fired him up.
Yeah. What brought you to FCA, and what keeps you here?
Yeah, so for me, being part of FCA, so playing football here, Coach Basil was the head of FCA when I played here. So ever since I was a freshman in high school, he was our FCA leader. We actually had it on Monday nights after football practice for the whole school. So we'd actually have kids from other sports coming back too after football practice. We'd meet up in the gym. So that was my first exposure to FCA. And then when I came back here in 2008 to be a teacher and a coach, Coach Sigmund was in charge of the FCA group, and I wanted to help him get involved. So I've been doing that since 2008. And for me, on a personal level, my relationship with Jesus is the most important thing in my life. And so for me, it's more important to help kids in their walk with Christ than coaching or teaching is, though those things are important as well. As you kind of said, oftentimes all comes together, right? And to see that come together on the football field, in the classroom, is amazing. And so I love the opportunity to do that. It's one of my favorite things. As a school, we meet every Wednesday morning in the media center before school. We have about 100 kids come in and do that, and that just starts my day off right every single day. And as a football team, we meet Tuesdays after practice, and seeing those kids do that and have them open up and be real about their faith and their struggles in their life, to put it your way, that keeps me coming back, right? That's the why and why I'm here and why I do that.
I have some eccentric questions
Sure.
for you.
Bring it on.
My dad would say things to me that would make me really think.
Okay.
Being that we're the Red Devils,
Mm-hmm.
Coming from North Lincoln, where they were the chivalrous knights, it makes me feel like we're embodying like something else.
Okay.
It's not just, good and this and that, but like there's an empowerment in the Red Devil, an angst, even a mischievousness to the Red Devil that I think brings great strength to the football team, and you see them empowered, and you see them playing really hard. My dad said to me one time that some guy on the team came to him, another coach, and he was like, God, if Eve wouldn't have eaten that apple, we'd still be in the kingdom of heaven. And Dad was like, if she didn't eat the apple, we wouldn't be here.
Sure.
Right? Yep. And so there's something to be said about the snake. And, maybe the Christian theology demonized the snake a bit harshly.
Sure.
But in that moment, life was born.
Right.
And here we came to earth. And is life a punishment? I don't think so. I think it's a blessing of all. I mean, to feel the cool air here and to sit with you and have this joyful conversation feels like a blessing.
Sure.
And so, how do you, with the school embodying the Red Devil, how do you work that into your sermon?
Yeah.
How do you work that into your practice with the kids?
Sure. I don't know that we've really played on that either in FCA or in the practice itself. Certainly, it's an interesting dynamic, right? So we've chosen years and years and years ago. Newton-Conover chose the Red Devil to be the mascot. Actually, I believe we were the Blue Devils first.
Oh, really?
Yep, that's what Scott Beck tells me. Way back in the 30s, and then they got a discount on red uniforms, and we changed into the Red Devils. That's his, and he's pretty good with that history stuff. I think in the back of my mind, sometimes I do think it's interesting being here, and again, part of what I do as FCA is try to bring our kids closer to God and closer to Christ, and we put this devil mascot up on a pedestal a little bit, which is kind of interesting. But I do think part of that Christian walk is, and the great thing about the Christian walk is Jesus came to forgive us of our sins. And so when we fight temptation, when we fight things coming from the devil, that does make our story interesting, right? And it gives us the opportunity to say, wow, Jesus came and forgave us of our sins, and he is stronger than the devil. And as much as we like being the Red Devils, he has power over the devil. And so all of that is, we haven't talked that with the kids. We haven't gone in there. But again, in my head personally, I think about those things.
Yeah, it's a bit of a 401 subject, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if they're ready at 16.
Right, yeah. That's maybe a little deep for them on some level. I know we've had a teacher or two interview who decided not to take a job here because we were the Devils, and religiously they did not think that was an okay thing. So it's an interesting dynamic for sure.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'd never heard that, and a couple years ago somebody told me that, and I was like, oh. So
talk to me a bit about the history of the football program. You've been here so long.
Yeah.
You played ball here.
Yep.
You coached under Nick Basil.
Mm-hmm.
You migrated with Basil to another program.
Correct.
And then migrated back
Yep.
to witness what he built sort of fall to pieces.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think brought Newton-Conover to this recession in wins and even in progress?
Sure. Well, let me start kind of way back, because it means so much to me. I grew up here. I grew up in Conover. My two older brothers played football here, so I've been going to Newton-Conover football games since the late 80s, early 90s, almost every one when I was a little kid watching them. And then to play my first 3 years for Coach Don Patrick was really an honor. Everyone knows Coach Patrick and what he's done for our community and our program and our school. And then my senior year was Coach Basil's first year as a head football coach here at Newton-Conover, and I was a captain of that football team, which is something I take great pride and honor in. And to see all that Red Devil pride for so many years as a kid growing up, as a player here, it just made a huge impact on my life. And then when I was in my mid-20s, came back here after coaching some college football and coached with Coach Basil here for 4 years. And again, just that experience and how much Red Devil football meant to me and to my family is hard to explain. And then went with him to Alexander Central for a season. And at that point, we had our fourth child in 3 years and decided I needed to be at home more and help my wife more with the small children. And so I ended up coming back here to teach, but not to coach. It was just too much for us at that time for me to do that. In the last 4 years, I've been coaching at our middle school, as I've had my children play at the middle school. So that's helped kind of ease me back into Newton-Conover football. But in that time period that I was away from the high school in those years, there was definitely something different. It didn't feel like Newton-Conover football anymore. What Coach Patrick and Coach Basil had built, it just wasn't the same. And that hurt me as a former coach here and former player here, as a 8-year-old kid who came to these games. That was difficult to see us, when we call that a recession or whatever it is we want to call it, to have those down years. I think one of the things Coach Patrick and Coach Basil, probably the most important thing they did is they built this program on character and integrity. And that's why I love it here. Again, that's why I'm here today, is to help reinstill that and reinstill those values with our kids, with our team, and to help do that. So absolutely 100%, I love to win. I probably hate losing more. And that's a big part of what I do, but it's not the biggest part of what I do. And the biggest part of what I do is, can I make a difference in these kids' lives? Again, make them better young men, and Coach Wilson has come in, and that has been his priority, and that's why I love working for him. That's why I've agreed to coach with him, and just to help kind of reinstate, again, yes, the winning and losing. We were about winning here at Newton-Conover High School in our program, our rightful places at the top of the conference and high up in those state rankings, and that is our goal, and that's what we're working for, and that's what we're on the path to do. But much more important is let's reinstill those values and what it means to be a man and what it means to be responsible and to treat others right and to just walk in a way that others look at you with respect. And so the combination of, hey, getting those wins back and where we should be, but again, more important is getting that character and integrity that's been with Newton-Conover for so long, since Coach Patrick was here in the 70s. Reinstilling that's really, really important to us.
Without calling any individuals out, what do you think it was that caused the recession?
I think anytime you have, if you want to be those things, if you want to be successful, if you want to, again, have that character and integrity, you have to be so intentional about it. And running a football program, I think people who aren't inside of that, I think they don't understand all the pieces to it. It's not just the X's and O's. It's not just watching film, and it's not just our kids are more talented than your kids. All that is part of that, and all that is important. But being so intentional to build a program, and Coach Wilson talks about it all the time, we're going to create a culture here, a culture of winning, a culture of having our kids being confident, them playing with confidence, but being intentional about doing those things and talking to those kids about, here's what it means to be a winner. Here's what it means to have confidence. Here's what it means to have character. Here's how you respond to coaching. Here's what integrity looks like. So I think sometimes it's easy for coaches, I know I'm guilty of it, is we just focus on the football, the X's and O's, who's blocking who, what schemes are we doing. But I think if you aren't intentional on doing some of those intangibles, I think that's where you see a decline sometimes.
One thing that I've seen over the years is, and we've done case studies on this issue with other schools. I live in the Owen district, the War Horses. Yep. Something that happens to teams when they lose that culture, something that the parents don't understand, and I don't think even the administrators who don't know football understand, is when the culture dies, addiction settles in, and athletes begin to get in with the wrong crowds, and they don't reach their full potential.
Right.
What can you touch on that Matt's doing here to rekindle that flame, so to speak, to keep those kids with FCA and keep them on track to become the best humans they can be in life?
There's no doubt. just society today, we've got young people, old adults alike, that have issues. And we've got plenty of kids who don't have the best home life and don't have the adults in their life to mold and shape them like they should, like those kids should. They deserve that, and they don't always have that. So Coach Wilson has done a fantastic job. He relates to those kids so well and puts his arm around those kids so well. He really has a heart for kids who are looking for adults in their life who care about them. Yeah. And we've had countless kids who maybe have come from other schools who have come in and said, wow, I was in a different school. My head coach didn't care about me. And my head coach did not show me the love that Coach Wilson shows. And they see that, and they see that quick. We had a kid, I remember a player who was here for a week, said, man, the coaches at my other school, they're different than you. They didn't show me how much you cared about me, whether I play or whether I don't play. They never showed me that love. And so I think that's been the biggest thing, is I see it in Coach Wilson every day. He has such a heart for kids, period, but especially kids who are looking for that adult in their life to care about them and love them.
In the past 2 years, we've seen a resurgence of money into the program, not just from the field, but from the new gymnasium.
No doubt.
The athletics program really saw a need to double down. Literally, they have 2 gyms now.
Right.
What do you think brought that in?
Combination of things. The logistics, that our school being old, both the county and the state said, hey, we recognize that y'all need a new school. And so when they recognize that and we're willing to give grants for that, I think our administration, both here at the school and at the central office level, said, well, let's put a lot of that towards athletics. The brand new gym, which is going to be beautiful, obviously our new turf field, which we love and I think is the best looking around. So the dedication, the commitment there from school administration, the central office, the school board, that was there for sure. Our athletic boosters have done a phenomenal job. Michael Lingle and the crew there works really, really hard to raise money for us, to get us definitely what we need, and even a lot of times what we want. And they've partnered with us and really worked so hard. I can't stress how hard the athletic boosters works for that. And then I think with Coach Wilson being back and the energy that's come in the program, outside folks, former football players who, number one, know Coach Wilson and know the history here, now are saying, oh yeah, Newton-Conover's coming back. And that tradition's coming back, and we want to be a part of that, and are willing to donate some money to some of those things. And that energy is there, and we feel it, but those alumni feel it, and our crowds feel it. Our crowds have been fantastic this year, but there's an energy, there's a spark right now about Newton-Conover football, and that's helped us financially for sure.
And it's the people, like you said, and one thing that like I'm just quietly documenting is just Nick Basil in the background.
Absolutely.
And he's just like an overseer. He's really not putting his input in. Matt knows what to do. They talk on the phone probably twice a day about what to do with the offense. But we got the Ducks coming through, and all those boys who coached those Ducks were 2008 champions.
That's right. Yep.
And so they know how to win ball games, and the Ducks are undefeated.
Right.
And they're really good. They have a kid who's quarterback who might end up at Bunker Hill, but whatever.
We won't go there.
Well, we'll see if we can get him recruited.
Right.
But from the ground up, quite literally, Newton-Conover's athletic program is doing everything right. And I can't say that there's any other program in the I would say not just in the district, but in our side of the state that's doing what we're doing.
Right.
One thing about the Ducks that I find really interesting is the way they didn't brand themselves the Newton-Conover Ducks. They branded themselves the Western North Carolina Youth Sports Association Ducks.
Sure.
And so that recruits kids from all over to play for Newton-Conover's wheelhouse of athletes. And so we end up getting the chance to recruit kids from Bunker Hill, from Fetty Ford, from Hickory High.
Right.
And in time, if they see that the high school program is that stand up. I mean, we saw the mass influx of athletes to the Hickory program over the last decade.
Sure. Yep, absolutely.
And those kids are coming in from all over the place too.
Yep.
And so we're going to see that now begin to happen here over the next 8 years. We're already ranked 4th in the 4A in the state, which I'm like, what?
Yeah, out of nowhere. That's right, baby.
So for me, maybe that has to do with how the 8A went. Maybe we don't have as many people to compete against as we used to.
Sure, a little different, yeah.
But Reidsville's still Reidsville.
Oh yeah.
And so when we get to how old is your oldest?
He's a junior, 16.
So he's number 16?
No, he's 16 years old. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What number is he?
74.
Oh, okay. I was about to say he's wearing AJ's number.
No, 74. He's a lineman.
Okay. Well, I'll be sure to get some footage of him.
Yep.
But and then you have 3 more coming. Are they all boys or?
Yeah, I've got two freshmen on the JV team in the 8 quarter on Friday nights too.
Well, we see what the JV team's doing.
Yep.
If we're ranked 4th now, where are we going to be in 3 years?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then what's coming after that?
For sure.
And so we potentially could see a dynasty on our hands if the cards are played right.
Right.
What's your mindset like now as not just a coach, but as a father?
Right.
But also as we move into this new era, like what are you thinking about with Fellowship for Christian Athletes and what it means to be a winning program?
Yeah, so again, the FCA piece, I think is really important. Again, number one, it's important for these kids and who they are. But I do think it brings cohesion to the team. When they sit down Tuesday after practice in that locker room and they hear their teammates kind of open up about who they are and the struggles they're dealing with or difficult situations in their life, and then at the end they pray together about that. I think there's no doubt that brings cohesion to the team. That builds relationships, that builds lasting friendships. And ultimately what a lot of it comes down to on Friday nights is what am I going to do for my brother who's lined up next to me? And if that brother is somebody you've built that cohesion with, that you've bonded with, that you've prayed with, give a little of that extra effort. And again, as a father, having having my boys out here playing, that's the kind of environment I want them in. That's the experience I want them to have, is to definitely grow in their faith, but also understand what does it look like to be a team, and what does it mean to be a teammate and be loyal to your brothers. And again, that process of building that culture and building that brotherhood is what we're doing. We're still in the process of it. Coach Wilson's doing a great job, but it's an ongoing process, and continue to push that with our kids and have them understand it's not just about me, but it's about Red Devil football, Newton-Conover pride, but also that brother next to me, and I'm going to give my all for him. And again, I think it all comes back together with setting the culture, with doing the FCA. All those pieces fit together and helping build that culture.
One thing that the athletes really can't comprehend is the program's longevity. Mm-hmm. And, they're thinking about that season they're in and if they're going to play or not, or, even just their mindsets are just on the individual practice or the game coming.
Right.
But the coaches are literally thinking 5-10 years down the road.
Sure.
It's interesting how these athletes, they're just on a conveyor belt, and then we pat them on their butt and they're on their way.
Right.
When it comes to, realizing the program and keeping the program steady, where does your mind go, and how do you focus yourself on the now, but also on the future now?
Yeah, I think pouring into the kids while they're here, for sure. How much can we pour into them? How can we build them up and help them be successful? But it is always looking to the future. It's a program, right? It's not just this team. We love this team, and we're going to continue to make this team as successful as we can. But it is a program that you're building. And so you look at that. You look at the JVs. I would say we spend more time coaching our JVs. We coach our JVs harder and watching film on JV football than probably anybody we play. And that's, number one, those kids deserve it, whether it's a JV player or a varsity player. They deserve our best, and we want to win JV games, period. We want to win those games, but also knowing that's our future, and that's our varsity team the next couple of years. So pouring into them, player development is such a huge thing, and you hear it talked about a lot. Not everybody does it. And so how can we develop those players? How can we stick with the basics and the fundamentals throughout the season? Are we tackling? Are we stepping right? There's our heads and hands where they're supposed to be. All those little technique things we continue to harp on throughout the year with varsity and JV. But if we do that with the JV players, we know, okay, they're going to be our varsity, and we're developing them. By the time they're seniors, they're going to be successful. We've got multiple seniors who are really, really good football players, starters for us. That is freshmen or sophomores, even juniors. The coach has said, I don't think that player will ever play for us. But the development of who they are and what they are as a football player has been phenomenal. And that's a credit to them. That's a credit to our coaching staff. So doing that as young as we can, I think really matters. I think partnering with the middle schools, we've done, and those middle school coaches, and helping them, and they've come out to our practices, especially in the summer, getting them on the same page, starting that development young. And again, we're have relationships with those Ducks coaches as well, and the more we can do that at a younger age and bring those kids up, the more successful we'll be. So Coach Wilson's focus on building a program isn't just the here and now, but it's those younger groups too, and bringing them up for sure.
We're in this era of individualism with the NIL, mm-hmm. and we've seen it trickle down to the high school level. The portal giveth and it taketh away. Right. We got Camden Ezard, mm-hmm. and you see other schools losing athletes.
Yep.
Some are losing them left and right.
Yep.
I won't say any names, but they're losing them left and right. How do you retain an athlete who has an individual mindset, but then also instill in him that work ethic and the teamwork that he needs to be the best teammate he can be?
No doubt. Yeah, that's a balance for sure. I think our retention, our keeping of our players, again, is a testament to Coach Wilson and how much he cares for those kids. But it's a balance. You want to let the kid be themselves to an extent and show in some situations their individualism, enjoy their success, let their personality come out. But again, at the end of the day, are they all about them? Or are they all about the team? And so, again, that's a process and setting that culture, and every kid is different. Some kids are wired to be a great teammate. Other kids are wired to care more about themselves. So you got to handle each individual differently. And how do you do that? And for some of them, maybe let that individualness and that personality come out some, but knowing when to rein that in and say, this is about the team, not about you. And Coach Wilson's done a phenomenal job of that.
This may come up in FCA. I'm not sure, but when you come across men who don't have a father, mm-hmm. how do you work with them mostly?
Yeah, I think number one, you got to know, right? You got to know your kids, and you got to know where they're coming from, and so opening that communication, because a kid walks in, you don't know what their family life is like. So first of all, you got to learn it, and you got to build that relationship and build that trust. And once you know those difficulties, and again, not having a father is one of those, and one of the biggest ones. You're not their father as a coach, but you can be a father figure. You can help show them this is what it means to be a man. This is what it means to look someone in the eye and give them a firm handshake. And this is what it means when someone in authority talks to you, and help showing them what it's like to live as a young man when they may not have that influence in their lives. I think it's really important. So when we do find out those situations with our kids, I think as a whole, as a coaching staff, and Coach Wilson particularly, really dives deep into their lives and really works on being that adult male role model for them.
One piece of our, one really big piece of our plot from last season to this season is learning about Nick's childhood. And learning about how he didn't have a father, and his first father figure was at 8 years old when he became the water boy for his football team, and his coach took him under his wing. And then you learn about how Nick came through, and all of those coaches were his father figures, whereas he didn't have a father in his life.
Sure.
And then, you know, he meets Kim, takes in her son, Matt, who is not his own blood. And then Matt grows up to become, well, it looks like he could be a second legendary coach here at Newton-Conover, all in the same steps as his father took, ironically, because his father went through the exact same experience he did. Isn't that beautiful?
It's amazing. And I think that's why Coach Wilson does such a great job relating to those kids, because him growing up without his biological father helps him connect with them. But then also the path he had, and he's told the kids this, for Nick Basil to come in and take him in as a young boy and become that father figure for him is such an amazing story. Just a testament to Coach Basil and who he is, doing that and treating him so well, and growing up such a wonderful son. But Coach Wilson is so appreciative of that. He brought Coach Basil into the team last year, and Coach Basil thought he was talking to the team. But at the beginning, Coach Wilson said, "Surprise, you're not going to talk to the team. I'm going to talk about you." And he told the team how much Coach Basil meant to him, and when he stepped up and became his dad when his dad wasn't there. And that really hit home with our players. And I think that's one of the many ways they connect with him and see how much he really cares about them, and says, "Oh wow, he's gone through some tough things too. He's had some similar situations that I've had from the player's perspective," and it has been such a big part of their story for sure.
I'm going to change gears for a minute, but we're almost done. I'm just going to ask you some questions I may or may not use.
Okay.
Programs that fail often fail because of parental overreach that is not governed by the administrators in charge. So the administrators in charge, a hard word for it is they're spineless, and they can't say no.
Sure.
And the parents end up coming in and having too much say. And then the coaches who really need that autonomy, they can't find that autonomy. And then the good coaches end up leaving. And then the exodus begins, because when that leadership leaves, the good athletes leave.
Right.
And then they're left with nothing. And then the teams end up going 2-8 or no playoff berths for 5-6 years. And the one thing we noticed that's happened in our case studies is when these teams fail, two things happen. The soccer team gets really good, and the school loses out on $70,000 to $90,000 over a 5-year span because of no one coming to the games, no proceeds coming in from concessions, and the programs fail, and the athletic program begins to wane.
Sure.
As a coach, how do you, because clearly there's a spine at Newton-Conover. As a coach, how do you kind of keep those specific parents like at arm's length, but then also show them the respect? Because we know at the end of the day, all it really comes down to is they care too much.
Sure. Yeah.
How do you help them as a minister of the cloth here at FCA? How do you help them understand that their reach is too far?
Yeah, I think that can be a big problem with youth sports, younger kids, and sometimes our youth sports have grown in such a way in our society, parents have so much say there, and sometimes with their own kids' own coaches or whatever. When you get to the high school level, they feel like they still have to have the same voice. And so I think as coaches, we need to find that balance of absolutely, let's have conversations with parents, let's sit down and talk to them, and understand they absolutely care about their children, their sons, and their in their sports, and they care a ton, and they should, but understand this is high school athletics, and you can't be mom and dad on the sideline like you were fifth or sixth grade, the 5 or 6 year old kid. Where is that distance? I think the biggest thing we do is treat and talk to the parents with respect, and so anytime there's a conflict or whatever, that's an open dialogue, and if we gain their respect, then that's going to help any future issues down the road. If we already have that respect, if that parent maybe tries to overstep their reach or tries to get overly involved, when we're able to sit down and have that conversation, it's easier for us at that point to say, hey, here's where being a parent and us being a coach starts and stops. And here's that where sometimes we need a parent to step back and the coach to handle it. But building that relationship initially, I think, is the key to that.
Okay, we're at the end. I just want anyone who played with Coach Basil, we're doing a special thing for him. Okay. While he's already been honored at the Hall of Fame,
right?
There's going to come a time when he's up in age, and my dad died at 63. He's 64 now.
Sure,
Nick is,
yep. And
so we want to have something special for him when he finally is sailing off into the sunset, because he clearly wanted to, but Matt reeled him back in. I would love to have something where all of the coaches and players who played under him, maybe not all of you, but as many as I can, say something nice to Nick. Could you do that for me?
Absolutely. Coach Basil, again, he actually 6th grade, he was at middle school for 1 year, my 6th grade year. So I've known Coach Basil since 6th grade. And then he coached me all the way through high school. I was fortunate to have a loving family, 2 parents and older brothers who loved and cared about me. So I wasn't necessarily looking for another father figure in my life. But the way that man coached me, the respect he showed me as a coach, and then almost maybe more influential when I got to coach for Coach Basil, learning from him how to treat assistant coaches, how to treat other people, how to run a program, with character and integrity, and seeing the impact he made on the young lives of our football players. Man, that has helped shape me as a football coach, and to see how he did that and how he handled those young men, the young men who still come up and hug his neck that played for him years and years ago, the young men who didn't have fathers that would call him on Father's Day and thank him for being a father figure in their life. Coach Basil has such an impact on them, and seeing his impact on them, again, has motivated me to try to do the same. And he has meant so much to me all these years, and the times we've been together and the times we've been apart, and staying in contact with him. Coach Basil has definitely helped mold me in the man I am today.
There's something I realized with my own father in his time as coach, and you feel this mindset with a lot of young coaches. They think that the pinnacle is becoming a head coach. But what my dad realized later in life was, like, you don't really need to be the guy. What you need to be is a really good cog in a very strong wheel.
Sure.
And often a really good head coach is just a very good manager of people.
Yep.
Whereas, much like me, my father was a specialist.
Yeah.
He was a very good offensive line coach. He was also very good at speaking to athletes individually and helping get to the heart of the problem and helping them understand their psychology. And that's something that I'm really good at too. He went on in 1998, I believe he and Nick were up for this job, and Nick got the job because he was younger, and he's Nick.
Right.
And Dad went on to East Lincoln for 4 years, and then Freddie Ford for 2 more years. And it's a real rigmarole being a coach for teams that don't have the same passion that Newton-Conover did at that time. And he found his way back to Newton in the prime years of our run, because it took 4 years to get to the 08 championship.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight.
That's right.
And he was here to watch that whole thing happen. He was a really good cog in a really strong wheel. And Newton went all the way to the States. And then basically that was when my dad was like, my work's done. And then he moved on to, take on other opportunities.
Right.
But how do you talk to a coach, to help them understand that? because I think a lot of them are chasing that dragon of, I need to be the head coach. And
Right.
I don't think that that's really for everybody.
For sure. Yeah, that is 100% true. To me, I measure success on impact. And sometimes as a head coach, you may feel like or can have, you feel like you're impacting the whole program, but assistants certainly can as well. And sometimes an assistant coach can really dive in with their position group and get to know their position group maybe even better than that head coach sometimes. The head coach has got the whole team. And so I think it comes down to, how do you measure success? And if you're able to impact those young men on and off the field, then I would encourage young coaches to look at that. How are you measuring your success, and how can you be successful? And some of them do have that passion and that desire to be that head coach and will be fantastic head coaches. But again, that's not for everybody, and that does not need to be a process that's rushed. You need to be prepared for that process, and while you're doing that, really dive into those individual players that you coach.
That's good. You have anything else you'd like to say to the team, the current team we're on?
Man, Newton-Conover football has meant so much to me for my entire life. And seeing that Red Devil pride and that Red Devil football that we had for so long here start to come back and start to get that momentum back. Man, it's wonderful to be a part of this ride and to be part of this journey. And I'm just so excited for the rest of our season for us to keep pushing through.
Do you have anything to say to your kids, your children, and let's say even your wife?
Yeah. So my wife has been through me. Again, we had lots of small children when I started coaching here, and she used to drag all 4 little boys to the football game by herself, carrying car seats and pushing baby strollers and all those things. And she has supported me so much through and through. It's certainly meant a ton to me. And to now have my children, 3 of them here and 1 more here next year, be able to play for me and to put on the same uniform that I played on, to run out between those goalposts on Friday nights, to hear that fight song when we come out. It gets me emotional sometimes, but for them to have that opportunity and how much it's meant to me now, to see that they get the chance to be part of that is truly special.
Wow, the Hardy Boys might be a part of the first part of the dynasty here.
That's right. That's the hope. That's the hope. For sure.
Really, you're going to have, it sounds to me like you're going to have 3 Hardys on a varsity team one day.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe next year, and definitely in the future. We've got two 9th graders and an 8th grader, so they'll be all there together. So it's exciting.
All right, that's all I got for you.
Awesome.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah, it's neat on Friday night. My 8th grader's the water boy. And then the twins are their 8 quarter. Actually, one of them played 3 quarters on Friday because Gavin Cook got hurt. So he played 3 quarters. And then my oldest is starting. So all 5 of us on the sideline together is pretty cool.
That is cool.
It's pretty neat. My wife tries to get as many pictures. She tries to frame the picture where we're all 5 of us in there together.
Make sure I get their numbers, and I'll be doing that for her.
Yeah, thank you. I
Cool,
appreciate
man.
it.
Yeah.
For sure.